Well, David, it's PWR PrimeTime Extra. I'm going to unbutton the jacket because, we're sort of laid back here and just having a conversation at PWRshow.com. And, hey, that was some good stuff on Primetime that you talked about. I enjoyed your DWHS. I also enjoyed feeling safe while I had Xavier here protecting me.
It makes sense if you really think about it. If you're going to have Undertaker and Shane, okay, we all know Shane should not beat Undertaker. But let's face it, the streak is over already.
So it doesn't matter anymore.
It doesn't matter.
Not at all.
And if Taker wants to be done, he lives outside of Dallas. Mm-hmm. This could be the biggest WrestleMania of all time. What bigger WrestleMania moment? I mean, it will be encapsulated. It will be legendary. Here's how you look at it. Shane takes a beating, chokeslam, kicks out, tombstone, kicks out. Finally, Taker understands, hey, this guy really wants to run this company. And you know what? I've had my run. I can't stand Vince. All he's done is put me in terrible situations for the 20-some years he's been there. And he, at one point, maybe he drops to his knees and lets Shane hit him with a kill shot.
Do they, though, in the build-up to this, because I want to talk about that, but do they go as far as to say Vince actually ended the streak at WrestleMania 30? And that's why.
I don't think so. Because then that's
fourth wall.
Then that defeats everything they did with Brock Lesnar.
That's true. That's very true. But here is what's worth discussing. And a lot of people don't make this connection because if you go from Dallas to Houston, and if you go back to 2009 at if you go back to WrestleMania 17 at the Astrodome, remember the matchup, Vince McMahon versus Shane McMahon, when Linda was comatose in the wheelchair, and Vince was screwing Trish Stratus, and Stephanie was involved. It was a McMahon family affair. That is one of the most entertaining matchups and stories building up to it on that card at WrestleMania 17, and it was great, not because of the 5-star match that Shane and Vince had, but because of the shenanigans and the story surrounding it. It's the same thing now, is it not?
It's all about heat.
The next several weeks, that heat will be nuclear.
And what they're going to do is they're going to tell the story how Shane got screwed. Oof. And all the heat's going to go on Stephanie and Vince, and everyone's going to want to see Shane win. And that's the beauty of it. And what's great is now they have something good for Undertaker. Listen, Undertaker could have a match with AJ Styles.
Why?
And beat him.
Yeah.
Kevin Owens and beat him.
Yep.
He could fight all the Wyatts and beat all of them also.
And he had Bray Wyatt last year. Does anybody remember or talk about that match?
Why bring Taker out for just a meaningless match? The streak is done.
Yep.
This will now replace the streak.
Mm-hmm. Imagine, by the way,
imagine if they still had the streak.
Oh, by the way, though, think about this. If Taker loses to Shane McMahon, which he can, maybe it wasn't the end of the streak that caused him to realize he was done, but maybe it's this match at WrestleMania that he's done.
But Taker isn't going to lose to Shane McMahon. Taker will lose because Taker quits.
Okay, but lose the match on the books.
Sure.
It's a loss. He's done. Mm-hmm. It's now his entrance into the Hall of Fame next year.
Right. And Taker's legacy will be the guy that righted the ship.
Yeah.
Think about it. It's a bigger picture than wins and losses. It's a storyline going forward.
But let's go backwards a little bit and let's put ourselves in Shane McMahon's shoes and let's go back to 2010. 2010, he, as you said earlier, wants to take his rightful spot as the heir apparent to WWE.
Right.
Vince McMahon's grandfather, Vince McMahon's father, Vince McMahon himself, Shane McMahon. He was the next in line by everyone's estimation, right? He asks for that. It does not happen. He leaves. He then sits back and watches Triple H marry his sister and become what he wanted to be and should have been, the man running the company next to Vince McMahon.
No, let's be fair. I don't think Shane could have put together NXT.
Regardless of the accomplishments. I'm simply saying, look at it from Shane's perspective of what he has dealt with and what the realism of this story is. And I'm not saying Triple H or Stephanie or anybody's at fault, but just the real emotion of this situation is his sister's husband has his job. And his dad let it happen.
Did you catch the slight jab Shane gave to Stephanie and Triple H?
There were several, but what was the specific one?
I have 3 sons.
3 sons. Named them. He named them as well. And I'm like, why do we care about that?
But here's the thing. I always often kid with my buddies that it takes a man to make a boy. We all know I have a little man.
Yes, you do.
Triple H doesn't. And maybe that's Shane's jab, saying, hey, I have 3 boys, you have 3 girls.
You know, here's the thing, though. We know a lot more about this story and situation than others may. But the real people that really know everything that happened in that family, because this is true family drama, Vince, Shane, Stephanie, Linda.
They were in the offices. I mean, there's other guys that are friends of friends of friends of pals and buddies that have heard, other things, and we've talked to those people. And it's all pretty close to the same story.
Yeah.
But it got heated with Shane and Vince.
It did.
Really pissy heated.
For Vince to say to Shane on the USA Network, knowing it would be beeped regardless, but beeping only gets you so far. The CEO of WWE in everybody's
in the first
mind
29 minutes of the show,
at the 7 o'clock hour, to say to his son, I'm going to give you a beeping beating.
Effing beating.
And say it with such conviction and such realism. And that I think, Dave, means more that he said it than we realize at this point. And I'm not saying it was real. I'm saying it means more than we realize at this point.
Creating heat. Heat is what sells tickets.
Is that right? I thought it was a 5-star match.
No. Okay, here's why. And again, we've had this conversation a million times. WrestleMania 3, what was the heat? Hogan and Andre.
And interestingly enough, week after next, when Steamboat's on the show, we talk specifically about the great match versus the headliner.
Hogan and Andre.
Yep.
That was the heat.
Yep.
Because it was 2 former best friends, undefeated against the world champion.
Yep. That's the money. That's what put 93,173 in that building. Yes. And this match, and a lot of fans don't like this match, and I don't necessarily understand why.
Here's why. Because they see Shane McMahon, a guy that hasn't wrestled in 7 years, and Undertaker at WrestleMania and a Hell in a Cell. On paper, it's terrible. There's no way.
Really?
On paper, there's no way a guy can leave the business, come back after 7 years, and have a competitive match with The Undertaker in his own match on his biggest stage.
How long was Brock Lesnar gone from WWE?
But he was a former UFC World Heavyweight Champion.
He was gone.
He kept
we don't
fighting.
know what Shane's been doing.
He kept fighting.
True.
But here's but that's the thing. But if you just really think, how can they tell the story? Because the story has to be good. And Taker is old school. He will have amazing ring psychology, and everything will be paced out. Rock versus Hogan.
WrestleMania 19
was by no means
19?
the best match on the show.
It was one of the best matches I've ever seen.
But it told a story, and the fans were so invested in both guys that they just punched and kicked and raked the back, and they had everybody right here.
Standing the whole match.
Yeah.
This is, Vince said this, and we joked about it because we thought at the time, and maybe he was referring to Daniel Bryan when SummerSlam did bad business for WWE that year when Bryan headlined it. And Vince said, we did not have the right attraction. Yeah. This is an attraction match. WrestleMania is an attraction. The Undertaker streak was an attraction. The Undertaker match remains to be an attraction. But really, step back, look at it, not as who your favorite is or who you want where and when, but look at the WrestleMania card so far. It's Triple H Reigns, it's Ambrose Lesnar, and it's Undertaker Shane. What's the money match? Undertaker Shane.
Right, and what people,
it's not the other two.
And here's like Triple H would say, here's the thing. What people are forgetting is that mainstream media is going to pick up on the fact that Vince McMahon's son,
the CEO of the company,
is now back in the ring, feuding with his father over his spot.
And there's real heat.
And he has to beat The Undertaker in a Hell in a Cell match.
At WrestleMania.
Now, think about it, people. Rolling Stone has been covering wrestling more often.
And look at this. I've got the article they did on Ring of Honor right in front of me here. Tremendous
ESPN article. Is now doing a segment on Tuesdays.
Yep.
You don't think all this crossover stuff isn't going to create buzz?
And at the right time of year where they need that buzz. Not only do they have to sell 100,000 tickets, but they've got to sell network subscriptions. They've also got to sell all of the other businesses that WWE needs to generate revenue from. And by the way, WWE, we haven't talked about this, they recently reported their 2015 full-year revenue results, and they had their best year in a very long time, if not ever.
And you know what's funny? Who's one of their top guys? Roman Reigns.
And also, the network revenues have doubled what their traditional pay-per-view revenues were.
So that means people weren't canceling the network.
Oh, even if they were, the model is working, and
Exactly.
the network is not a failure. But we're going to talk. Here's what I'm excited about. Two things, David. Here, I'm excited about the journey that will be for the next few weeks on Raw, which is now Destination Television. And I said earlier,
and SmackDown will be too.
I said earlier that Shane McMahon, his return to WWE, is being viewed by a lot of fans as him being the savior, if you will, for WWE. Here's why. Vince has come back, nothing's changed. Triple H and Stephanie have been running the show for a long time. I'm talking television characters in the presentation on Raw Monday nights, and nothing's changed. There's talk of, and maybe again, when I talked about Vince's F-bomb earlier, that meant more than we maybe realized it did. There's talk that the Attitude Era, if you will, as best as it could be back, at least if only on the road to WrestleMania, but perhaps even after, because some information has been leaked out, if you will, by some venues that are hosting WWE television post-WrestleMania that indicated that Raw would be Raw versus WWE. This is big.
I think there will be a brand split, and it will be Raw versus SmackDown again.
Okay.
But they can't call it Raw versus SmackDown. It will be Shane McMahon's Raw against the WWE, which will then be SmackDown.
But even if they do, and that would be great, and even doing that, you can take a Kevin Owens, you can take a Dean Ambrose, you can take a Dolph Ziggler, and they become fresh talents again because everything they did
and
up
AJ
until
Styles
now doesn't matter because now Shane's running the show, or Vince is running the show, or whoever. There's a fundamental change to the program that then gives you the opportunity to refresh the talents as well.
And it's going to be interesting because they need a shot in the arm of something.
And Shane was that shot in the arm, I think.
And then watch, even if you look at the WWE Facebook page, they're now showing videos explaining who Shane McMahon is. Mm-hmm. He is being reintroduced to their audience through social media. And just wait till Raw on Monday night.
It's going to be huge.
It will be the Shane McMahon show.
Exactly. Let's change gears here. Still talking about WrestleMania, but one thing we didn't talk about on Primetime, David, is here we are in Primetime Overtime Extra, if you will, at PWRshow.com. The only place you can see this in its initial release, by the way, is on PWRshow.com. But the main event, I guess you can call it, the championship match at WrestleMania. Roman Reigns wins at Fastlane this past Sunday on the WWE Network. Now, we knew that Dean Ambrose wouldn't win, but I think we both thought, at least the way you booked it as well, and I agreed with, that Brock Lesnar would win that matchup.
Won that match.
But he didn't.
No.
Roman Reigns won, and Cleveland wasn't too pleased.
Yeah.
Poor Roman Reigns. Let me say this. All right, Roman Reigns is endorsed. I've endorsed him since he broke off from the Shield, or maybe just before that. Roman Reigns is in a very bad place right now because he is a talented person who gets it, who's trying his best, and who is dealing.
He's done everything that's been asked of him.
Exactly. He's done everything with a smile on his face that's been asked of him. And yet, many of you out there, because he's the chosen one, the one pushed down your throats, blah, 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 he's not Ambrose, he doesn't deserve it, pick a reason. You are booing him.
Flips.
Because he can't do high spots and he's not ending his career early by doing so?
That's what it is. Do a flip, Roman.
What about the elbow drop?
Maybe. You can do that. But you know what doesn't help, though, is that Triple H makes fun of it. Like when he was pounding Roman Reigns' face in the announce desk.
Yeah.
And then when he was done, he like mocked the Superman punch and did the DX chop. Mm-hmm. That doesn't help the fact. He shouldn't be doing DX stuff to Roman Reigns.
We'll talk about this, and I'm excited to talk about this matchup with Jim Ross when he joins us on Primetime here in the next few weeks. Well, you're going to be here as well. It's going to be you, me, and JR talking about WrestleMania. I want to hear his take on this matchup because I think it should be a foregone conclusion that Triple H is going to lose this match.
Oh, he has to lose this match.
But what will that do actually for Roman Reigns at WrestleMania? That's what I can't wait to discuss. But
here's how you got to look at it. If Shane wins,
Shane or Reigns?
Shane
McMahon wins.
He beats Taker. Roman Reigns is the guy. Well, then it's Shane and Reigns. It's their era.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
And then Hunter and Steph can go to Thursdays.
Yes.
And run that for a while.
Yes.
And make their guy the champ down there.
And then we could have a Survivor Series where they have to fight for WWE.
You got to figure.
And then Ric Flair comes back the next night. And Jerry Lawler comes back.
After WrestleMania, Seth Rollins should be back.
Yes. And John Cena should be back.
Yeah.
And Randy Orton, Cesaro.
So you get the whole reset. You get to redraft everybody, and SummerSlam should be amazing.
Folks, that's PWR Primetime Extra here at PWRshow.com.
I mean, I got nothing else to do tonight.
Is that right?
Yeah.
Tonight or today? Because I thought your nights were generally pretty booked.
Well, they are, but it's usually after 3 o'clock.
That's all. That's Primetime Extra.
We're finished?
We're finished. Primetime Extra is done.
Good,
we'll be back for Feedback Friday next week, but also all kinds of other stuff. And very excited about the March to Mania, which kicks off next week with Road Warrior Animal, our guest on Primetime. So for that one, folks, thank you for joining us here at PWRshow.com. This is Damian Nelson saying farewell, so long, adios, au revoir. Is that Lawrence Welk with Bubbles? We'll see you next time, folks.